Hi, this is Angela with Coulee Environmental Safety Training, back again with another presentation on designating hazardous and dangerous waste. This presentation is about designating listed waste. If you need any assistance with your waste designation, waste management, or are in need of waste management training, your annual RCRA training, contact us. You can find our information in the link, or you can go to our website at wasteandsafety.com. Our upcoming classes are going to be October 18th and November 15th for our one-day refresher class, and our full 3-day waste management class is going to be offered December 5th, 6th, and 7th. All of these are at the Moses Lake Ramada Inn. And again, I hope this information is helpful to you, and thank you for your time.
The hazardous waste identification process is the crucial first step in a generator's hazardous waste management plan. Correctly determining whether a waste meets federal or ecology's definition of a hazardous or dangerous waste is essential to determine how the waste must be managed. Waste designation is critical in determining how waste produced either during and or after a manufacturing process will be handled by the generator. Proper waste designation allows generators to apply the correct waste codes on shipping manifests and annual reports. Waste designation is also used to determine a business's regulatory status and responsibilities. In the interest of keeping these presentations brief but still informative, the waste designation process will be covered in 4 segments. The first was designating characteristic waste. The second segment is designating federally listed waste. Third will be designating Washington State dangerous waste using the book designation method. And fourth is designating Washington State dangerous waste using the bioassay designation method. It is important to keep in mind that a waste generator is legally responsible for determining if a waste is a RCRA hazardous waste or a state-only dangerous waste. In fact, changes to the federal hazardous waste rules in 2016 require generators to keep documentation of how or why solid wastes that are spent materials such as sludges, byproducts, or discarded commercial chemical products are determined to be a hazardous waste. Under the federal rules, this information must be retained for 3 years, but under Washington State's dangerous waste rules, these documents must be retained for 5 years. Additionally, generators must have this confirmation of their waste status at the point of its generation. So how to designate listed waste? When the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, also known as RCRA, was enacted, EPA specifically identified and listed certain wastes that are known to be hazardous. Complete lists of these wastes can be found in 40 CFR 261 subpart D. Ecology has also included these listed wastes in the dangerous waste regulations, and they can be found in WAC 173, 303, 9903, and 9904. EPA identified these specific hazardous wastes by observing different industrial practices at numerous facilities, noting the common chemicals used, and assessing which wastes pose the greatest risk to human health and the environment. Listed wastes are always hazardous regardless of their chemical composition. Therefore, no testing is required to identify them. It is important to remember that even if your waste is included on one of these lists, it still must be designated for its characteristics. That is it also flammable, corrosive, or reactive? Listed wastes are divided into 4 categories according to their origin. F-listed wastes, these are wastes from generic industrial processes, for example, certain spent solvents used for cleaning or degreasing. You have K-listed wastes, these are wastes from specific industry sectors, for example, certain petroleum refining wastes. And then there are P-listed wastes. These are commercial chemical products, manufacturing chemical intermediates, or off-specification chemical products or intermediates that have been identified as being acutely hazardous waste. Some examples are potassium cyanide and arsenic trioxide. Now, U-listed wastes are similar. They are also commercial chemical products, manufacturing chemical intermediates, or off-specification commercial chemical products or intermediates that have been identified as being toxic hazardous waste. So some examples would be lead acetate or toluene. The F-listed wastes are from non-specific sources and refer to processes only rather than specific industries, and include wastes from common industrial and manufacturing operations. Because the F-listed wastes aren't industry-specific, they are often generated by a large number of facilities. While the listing descriptions don't really designate these 28 wastes into specific groups, they can be placed into 7 general categories. The complete list of F-listed wastes under both the federal and state rules can be found in the regulations. In the federal regulations, 40 CFR 261.31, and in Washington states in WAC 173.303.9904. The 7 basic process groupings are spent solvent waste, electroplating and other metal finishing waste, dioxin containing waste, chlorinated aliphatic hydrocarbon production waste, wood preserving waste, petroleum refinery wastewater treatment sludges, and multi-source leachate. So spent solvent wastes. These include hazardous waste codes F001 through F005. The first 2 are spent halogenated solvents, and the other 3 are non-halogenated solvents. Examples of solvents include benzene, toluene, methylene chloride, and methanol. All of the specific solvents that can be designated as an F-listed waste are listed in the regulations. There are 3 general criteria that need to be met for the solvent listing to apply. A solvent must meet all of these criteria in order to be considered an F-listed hazardous waste. First, the waste must be used for its solvent properties, that is to solubilize, dissolve, or mobilize other constituents. Second, the solvent must be spent, that is, it has been used and is no longer fit for use without being regenerated, reclaimed, or otherwise reprocessed. And third, it had a before-use concentration that meets the following criteria. So for mixtures of F001, F002, F004, and F005 solvents, the total of all solvent constituents before use were greater than or equal to 10% by volume. When this is true, all appropriate waste listings will apply to the solvent. This is not the concentration of the solvent at disposal, but at before use. Now, for solvents that are in the F003 waste code class, they must meet 2 additional criteria. Instead of having to be 10%, they have to be either a mixture that contains only F003 solvents in pure or technical grade, or it can be a mixture that contains an F003 solvent plus 10% or more of those other F-listed solvents prior to use. Now, the idea of a pure or technical grade simply means that that solvent is either 100% that specific material. So if we're talking about acetone, it would be 100% acetone that was used, or it's a technical grade of that solvent. And a technical grade simply means that's the percentage of that solvent that's typically sold for use in industry and trade. So an example could be if a painter purchased a solvent for cleaning brushes that was xylene, and it was 95% xylene, which is an F003 solvent, whether he would need to designate that spent solvent when he's used it as F003 would depend on whether or not that 95% xylene concentration was considered the typical commercial grade that's sold. If that's the case, then yes, it would designate as F003. If that is not a typical concentration, then it would not designate as F003. It would likely designate just for a flammability characteristic. Now, an example of the 10% rule that applies to the other solvents is this. You could have a mixture of, say, 3 different solvents, or 2 or more different F-listed solvents, that if their total concentration before use adds up to 10% or more, then each of those F listings would apply when that spent solvent is disposed of. So in this case, even though individually the percentage of those solvents were below 10%, because their total amount at the end was 10%, all three F listings would apply when that material is disposed of. Now let's say you mixed in some F003 solvent with that. So instead of trying to dissolve the solvents into water, you dissolve them into an F003 solvent mixture. In this case, even though you're not using a 100% F003 solvent or a technical grade of those solvents, because they are mixed with 10% or more of the other F-listed solvents, when that mixture is spent and disposed of, all four of those F waste codes would be applied to that mixture. Other F-listed industries include electroplating. Electroplating is the production of thin surface coatings of one metal upon another, and electroplating operations include common and precious metal electroplating, anodizing, chemical etching and milling, and cleaning and stripping when associated with tin, zinc, and aluminum plating on carbon steel. The waste codes for electroplating waste are F006, F008, F007, and F009, and are only applied if cyanides are used in the process. Some metal finishing F-listed waste codes are generated from metal heat treating operations. Metal heat treating involves the modification of a metal's physical properties through application of controlled heating and cooling cycles. And again, these waste codes, F waste codes, would only apply if cyanides were used in the heat treating process. The final metal finishing operation covered is chemical conversion coating processes. Chemical conversion coating process is the process of applying a coating to the metal for increased corrosion protection, reducing the coefficient of friction on that metal, or preparation of the surface for additional coatings. Chemical conversion coating is not the same as electroplating, therefore a separate waste code of F019 is assigned to waste generated from these processes. The next group is dioxin-containing wastes. There are a number of different codes for dioxin waste depending on the source that is used. Dioxins have the distinction of being highly toxic and persistent compounds, making these wastes the type that both EPA and Ecology particularly want to see handled in an appropriate manner. Dioxins are not chemicals that are produced for any commercial purpose, rather are found as unwanted contaminants in a variety of manufactured chemicals, process intermediates, and unwanted process wastes. Because they are not commercial products and do not have a characteristic listing, there are not any waste codes specific to dioxins alone. So to ensure wastes that are likely to contain dioxins are disposed of properly under the federal rules, F waste codes were created to address three sets of wastes that are likely to contain dioxins. The first set, F020 through F022, are waste from the production and manufacturing use of tri- or tetrachlorophenols, pentachlorophenol, and manufacturing that uses use of tetra, penta, or hexachlorophenols. Dioxins are known or expected to be present in waste streams as a result of production and manufacturing of these compounds. The second addresses waste on equipment previously used for the production or manufacturing of those chemicals. The waste code itself applies not to the actual equipment, but to the waste generated from using the equipment. For example, if you use the same equipment to produce different chemicals or products, the dioxin or other contaminants may still be present on the equipment and therefore contaminate the new process. The codes for waste contaminants are F023 for the tri- and tetrachlorophenols and F026 for tetra, penta, and hexachlorobenzenes. The third set is discarded unused formulations containing tri-, penta, or tetrachlorophenols or 2,4,5 tetrachlorophenyl propionic acid, also known as Silvex. Those get a waste code of F027. This listing is unique among the F listings because it is not a manufacturing process waste, but rather an unused multi-active ingredient formulation or a commercial chemical product that is being discarded. Now, chlorinated aliphatic hydrocarbon production waste. So F codes 024 and 025 are the waste codes applied to chlorinated aliphatic hydrocarbon production waste. Chlorinated aliphatic hydrocarbons, also known as CAHs, are a class of organic compounds commonly used as feedstock in the production of polyvinyl chloride and other chemicals such as pesticides and fire retardants. Some examples of CAHs include vinyl chloride and carbon tetrachloride. Wood preserving waste. There are 3 F listing codes assigned for wood preserving waste. Wastewaters, processed residuals, preservative drippage, and spent formulations from wood preserving plants that use or have previously used chlorophenolic formulations are given the F032 waste code. Creosote formulations are given an F034 waste code, and inorganic preservatives containing either arsenic or chromium are given the F035 waste code. Determining the applicable waste code just simply depends on what type of preserving solution was used at the facility. Petroleum refinery wastewater treatment sludges. So the F codes F037 and 038 apply to hazardous waste that's been generated from petroleum refinery wastewater treatment. The F037 waste code is assigned to the primary oil, watery, solid separation sludge from a petroleum refinery. This waste code will be used for any sludge generated from the gravitational separation of oil, water, solids during the storage or treatment of processed wastewaters and oily cooling wastewaters. The F038 waste code is assigned to the secondary emulsified oil-water solid separation sludge. This waste code will be used for any sludge and or float generated from the physical and or chemical separation of oil, water solids in the processed wastewater and oily cooling wastewaters from petroleum refineries. The last F listed waste is F039 and addresses leachate from the land disposal of more than one restricted waste classified as hazardous. Subtitle C land disposal facilities can dispose of all types of listed waste in each unit. The minimum technical standards are designed to prevent leachate from escaping these units, but in doing so the system must remove leachate from the unit to keep pressure from building on the liner. This waste also needs to be regulated. However, due to the multitude of different wastes the facility contains, it is very difficult for the owner or operator to know exactly all the waste codes that this leachate represents. It could be from hundreds of waste. To facilitate treatment of residues derived from listed waste disposal and to streamline the hazardous waste identification process for leachate, EPA created this listing for multi-source leachate from disposal of listed hazardous wastes. It should be noted, though, that this waste code does not apply to leachate derived exclusively from any of the dioxin containing wastes. This type of leachate is considered single-source leachates and will be classified as either F020, F021, F022, F023, or F026, 27, or 28. K-listed waste. The K-listed wastes are hazardous waste generated from specific industrial sources. To determine whether a waste will designate as a K-listed waste, it must first be determined if the waste comes from one of the 13 different industries identified to produce K-listed waste. Then you must determine if the waste is generated from a specific process within these industries that have been identified by EPA to produce one of these listed waste. The 13 businesses that are sources of K-listed waste codes are associated with the production of wood preservation, production of organic chemicals, pesticides, petroleum refining, ink formulation, coking, veterinary pharmaceuticals, inorganic pigments, inorganic chemicals, explosives, iron and steel, primary aluminum smelting, and secondary lead smelting. If your company engages in any of these types of processes or produces any of these types of products, it is advisable to just look through the K list to see if the process you're using matches those, and then any of the wastes that are created during those processes can be designated with an appropriate K code. K codes are a lot less common than the other list codes, but they do occur in these industries in particular. All right, P and U listed waste. P and U listed wastes are pure and commercial grade formulas of certain chemicals or unused chemicals that are going to be discarded or intended to be discarded by generators. A complete list of what are considered P or U listed chemicals can be found in the federal regulations in 40 CFR 261.33, and in Washington state it can be found in WAC 173-303-9903. P and U listing chemicals are, again, they're specific commercial chemical products, or they can also be off-specification commercial chemical products. They can be residues of commercial chemical products, or they can be a manufacturing intermediate commercial chemical products. So they have a fairly narrow applicability in the arena of hazardous waste. However, they are often a very common source of waste for companies that have a lot of different manufacturing processes or use different chemicals that they need to sometimes dispose of before they're finished using those products. Now, it's important to also keep in mind that if you do have a chemical that falls into that P or U listing, if it's used for its intended purpose, then it's not going to be considered a P or U listed waste. So any residue where it's been used or applied is not going to have to be treated as a hazardous waste. Another source of P or U listed waste can be if there is a spill of a P or U listed waste. If that occurs, any soil, water, debris, materials used to clean up that spill with will all have to be disposed of with the appropriate P or U list waste code. Again, containers that held P or U listed wastes, or liners from containers that held P or U listed waste, would also have to be disposed of as hazardous waste as well, unless they meet the definition of being clean in the regulations. So commercial chemical products, manufacturing chemical intermediates, these terms refer to chemicals which are being produced in a commercial or either in a pure or technical grade again. So pure grade would be that this chemical you're disposing of is 100% of one of these P or U listed wastes, or it is the technical grade of that chemical, as we mentioned earlier with F listed waste, that if it's typically sold at a concentration less than 100%, but that is a common marketed formulation for it, then that would be still be considered a P or U listed waste. Another important thing to keep in mind with P or U listed wastes is that the P or U listed chemical must be the sole active ingredient in that commercial chemical product. So if it's a mixture of two or more different chemicals, then it's not going to designate with a P or U waste code. It will designate another way likely, but not as a P or U listed waste. In that case, often a manufacturing process waste, let's say, or a commercial chemical product that contains more than one P or U listed substance will likely designate either as an F or K listed waste, or because it has one of those toxic characteristics. It's ignitable, it's corrosive, it's reactive, or it's considered toxic under the federal and state regulations. Again, under both the federal and state rules, a formulation or waste needs to meet the following criteria to be considered a P or U listed waste. It has to have only one active ingredient, and there can be no more than one listed chemical in the active ingredients. So in this example here is a section from the safety data sheet of a solvent that contains a number of different active ingredients. Even though 2 of those active ingredients are chemicals that fall on the U list, because they are not the sole active ingredient, this material would not be disposed of with those U waste codes. Instead, it would likely designate as a D001 for ignitability. So this covers the basics of designating listed hazardous waste under the federal and state rules. The next presentation will be discussing designating Washington State dangerous waste using the book designation method. If you are in need of any waste management training, Coulee Environmental Safety Training has 4 upcoming waste management for Washington State, also which qualify for your annual RCRA training in the next few months. We are going to be offering 1-day refresher classes October 18th and November 15th in Moses Lake. This class is for people who work at large and medium quantity generator facilities who have experience managing dangerous waste but need to maintain their annual training. This class is also good for small quantity generators who want to stay current on the regulations and how they may affect their operations as well. The class runs from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and costs $3.95 per person. We are also offering the full 3-day waste management for Washington State class. They have trainings September 19th to the 21st, which are almost full, and December 5th through the 7th. Both of these classes are going to be offered in Moses Lake. And this class is for people working for large and medium quantity generators who are new to dangerous waste management and would like an in-depth training on both the federal and state waste management regulations. This class runs from 8:30 to 4 o'clock and costs $9.95 per person. If you are interested in finding out more about these trainings, please go to our website at wasteandsafety.com and look for the training schedule. Or you can email me, Angela, at angela.stenhouse@wasteandsafety.com. Thank you for your time.